Hey, welcome back. So today's video is going to be about learning how to learn, being able to utilize certain methods to learn new subjects, primarily subjects in like software development. So let's say you are a person who's not necessarily the best, overall student. Like I wasn't really the best student in starting off. I kind of, kept like C's and B's and stuff. But then I started to notice that when I started to learn things that I like to learn, when it came down to playing a certain game, or maybe learning a language I want to learn Japanese, or learning on how maybe. I think that there was one time when I was actually playing this game called Dance Dance Revolution, which is basically like this rhythm game that you use your feet to basically hit certain buttons that correspond with the screen. So like if you see you'll have like 4 directions: up, down, left, right arrows, and then when you see the arrows come up on the screen, and when they hit a certain point, you're supposed to hit the corresponding buttons on this pad at certain times. So timing was really important. So of course, starting off with the beginning pieces were okay, and I can get through it. But the intimidation that came from the other people who were playing before me that were just going at it, I think that brought down that slowed my opportunity of getting better at it. So what I decided to go ahead and do is I started to go ahead and take the home version, and I bought a pad and I started playing at home to try to get to a point where I can at least play at the store, because this was these games were actually in an arcade in a public area. So I tried to go ahead and learn like that. So what I ended up doing was that I just got to a point where I actually was able to just not embarrass myself in the store, and that was probably my main point. So that's basically where I would talk about learning something. You have to set a goal. My goal was not to be embarrassed in public, and not to put in money in the machine, click a song, and then just fail. And I think that I did really, really well when I had that goal set in my mind. And I also noticed that where I started to plateau, meaning that I was only able to do so many songs so well because that was what I was thinking about. So when it comes down to learning things, you have to really know why you want to learn this thing you're learning it. And you have to put different things in your ways, like different goals, so you achieve them, so you can continue to maintain that belief that you have in your mind about these things. So if you're interested in learning about anything, I would say the software development, programming, for instance, if you're not necessarily interested, if you've never done that type of thing before, you're going to have to probably remove yourself from wherever you're learning, you're feeling uncomfortable, and put yourself in a place where you can make mistakes and no one's going to be judging you for that, and then start to put together things that make sense. One thing I think about doing when it comes down to learning new things like that is by just breaking them down to smaller steps and making sure that you're understanding these steps, and not really where you're understanding them, just going over them. I think that the repetitiveness is really great too. Whenever I started to learn something new, I always just tried to just go through the motions over and over and over again. Kind of like how I guess if you start learning how, I don't know if you've ever driven before, you have a car. If you drive your car on a street and then you might drive your car on the highway, you're still doing the same thing. You're still behind the wheel with the gas on you, but I think that what makes it much more difficult from what it meant for was that you're going at a much higher speed, and that the control of or the chances of you getting hurt was much higher than it was when you were slowing down. But if you drove enough on these roads, these little quiet roads, and there wasn't had much traffic, didn't have any cars, and it wasn't going so fast and you couldn't put the brakes when you needed to, allows you to quickly get from going slow to fast. When I first started driving, I failed the driving test 3 times before I actually went ahead. It wasn't until the 3rd time when I actually started just driving. I didn't care about like, oh, I can't go ahead and drive. I'll just keep driving, and you just keep going. Right? Of course, you're paying attention to all those rules and everything, but don't give up on what you're trying to do. And eventually, my mind just snapped, and I was just able to just get behind the wheel and take the test and pass it. And I think that one of the reasons why I didn't pass it before wasn't because I didn't have that when I knew now. I actually knew all of that. It was just that I wasn't able to show the confidence. So the confidence is really key into learning something new, because you need to be able to keep your mind focused on solving the problem. And if you're getting too afraid of failure or imposter syndrome, I don't know, then these things will fall apart. So when it comes down to learning something new, if you're going to learn programming or whatnot, make sure that you are going to start with something very, very simple. You know, I recommend a few things, like if you're going to go ahead and you're going to start a class, you know, try to find like the simplest book about it or some simple terms, and then you slowly move into it each day. You know, commit to looking at it every single day, and then try to increase the time until you take a test. Don't worry too much about failing. You know, assume that you might fail, and then try to see on how you can go from a failing grade to a passing grade. And then you just keep moving on that. We have to trick your mind into doing these things in order to actually accomplish most things in life. Some people, especially when you're working in areas where everybody's doing, or it appears that people are doing much better than you, you tend to assume that you have to be at that level in order to participate, because we have like this mindset of like, you know, we need to kind of like act like everybody else is around. If we're acting differently, it's like wrong. Like, you know, that's what I'm trying to get people to understand about, you know, learning is like a personal thing. You're actually not competing against the person that you might see in front of you. You're competing against yourself. And once you realize you're competing against yourself, you can actually organize what you want to do first and take care of those things, and slowly building your understanding, and you're building your confidence. So I hope that you understand that and you enjoyed that type of information. I want to kind of bring up type of videos like that, where, you know, as you continue to overcome anything inside your life, you know that you can take these small steps and overcome anything just with small bits and pieces. Whatever's going on in your life right now does not necessarily have to dictate on how you handle it. You have complete control on how you can handle it, because you are in control of what you think and how you feel. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care.